Good evening. Hello. So, it's me again. Now, I've been threatening to make this video for a while, and so today is the day. People ask, and at least two have, so that justifies this video. People ask, what is the difference between a pelican and a peli case? Why is there two names, and under what circumstances is one and one the other, and are they the same thing, and etc, etc. Please explain, Ben. All two people have asked that, and one of them was probably not at all interested in the answer, but it's information, right? It's out there, and I am more than happy to explain, because why not? Anyway, I find it interesting, and because I'm a total nerd about this kind of thing, I'm sure there are other people out there who also no one would want to know. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to do the bit anyway. Okay, so in the 70s, Pelican arrives. It's a Californian company, and in the USA, obviously, and they begin making their cases. And by the 1980s, the Protector range is around and all that sort of thing, and all the cases are called Pelican cases. Okay, and so the most famous Pelican case of all of them, the most popular and numerous, is the 1510, and I just happen to have one. So this is a Pelican 1510. It is a medium-sized case with a handle on the top, handle on the side, and the trolley mechanism, extendable handle, wheels. So this is a roller case, and it is the basically it's a carry-on sized case. This is why it's very popular, is because it is designed to be taken on an airplane, and it is the largest format, the largest kind of size that you can take on a aeroplane in the cabin. Okay, before you have to check the baggage and put it in the hold. Now, that's not a given, in terms of a lot of airlines have reduced their cabin bag size allowances, and so some airlines, they might have a problem with a case this big, but that's what it was for. And there are variations on this theme, in terms of there's now the Air range, which are lighter, made of a lighter material, not quite as dense as this, as the Protector range, and there's the Storm range, and of course all the other competitive manufacturers have their own version of this case, if nothing else. So a Nanook 935 is basically the Nanook interpretation of this idea. Pelican is the daddy in that sense. Okay, so that's Pelican. All right, now they were selling those cases in Europe and the UK, and as Pelicans. And in Germany, there is a very large stationery company called Pelican, with a K, Pelican, and they started trying to apply pressure to Pelican USA to cease and desist, and there was lawsuits and all sorts of things like that. This was the very early 90s, and so after a little bit of toing and froing and various kind of lawsuits and pressure this way, pressure that way, they came to an agreement. Okay, and the agreement was that Pelican would not market their cases in Europe or the UK as Pelican, because of the Pelican brand with a K company, and instead they would market them as Peli. Okay, Peli. So this is a Peli 1510. Okay, and it is the exact same case. It's a roller case. Okay, we've got a handle here, we've got a handle on the top, actuating mechanism, wheels. It's the same case, okay? It's just called Peli, all right? So, 1997 is the inception date, I believe, of Peli. Okay, so this is when cases started being made with the brand name Peli. Okay, and at the time they were still made in the USA. There wasn't any European production, as far as I know, and so you would have cases that were made in the USA but were branded Peli and then shipped out to Europe and the UK for sale there, and obviously the Pelicans would remain in the US market. But otherwise they were the same case and made on the same production lines to the same standards and specs. Then round about 2007, 2008, Peli Europe began making cases locally in Germany. They sort of partnered with a facility there and started actually producing cases. And so now you have cases that are made in Europe, or they might say made in the EU, or made in Germany, or made in the European Union. And it would be wrong to say that from 2008 all Peli cases are now made in Europe. That's not true. What has tended to happen is there's a sort of hybrid, a sort of symbiotic or a sort of synthesized situation going in that entire lines of cases have been kind of moved to either the European production or remain in the US. And so, for example, your 1510. Now, I'm just hypothetically say the 1510 remains a US made case. That would mean that perhaps the 1510, regardless of whether it's a Peli branded or a Pelican, remains made in the USA, whereas maybe a 1200 case or a 1300 or whatever, some other line of protector case, maybe the Pelicans and the Pelis are all made in Germany, or a mixture of the two. You can get US production and German production, and that's how it works. So this was from about 2008. So what's the difference between the two cases? Now, the reason why I'm struggling with that one is this is my Pelican 1510 and it has my quad cortex in for touring, so it's heavy, whereas this is a brand new Peli 1510. Hello, can you still see me? And this is empty, so it's a lot easier to handle. Sorry about the sound going a bit weird because I'm behind two great big cases. Okay, right, so what else is different about them? Anything at all? Well, no, not really, but there is one little thing that I find quite funny, or not funny, but fun about the name change, okay? And the effect that had on one thing in particular. Now, obviously, you've noticed that you've got this, on cases that have these banners, because not all cases do, but on the ones that do, you've got obviously the Pelican situation and the Peli situation. But the thing that I quite like is this. Now, look, if I put the Peli over here for a second. All right, we're going to focus in on the logo. All right, now hopefully the camera will focus in, and you can see the Pelican logo. This says Pelican 1510 case. You've got Torrance, California, USA down here, and you have this lovely logo here. Now, this is the modern logo. It hasn't always looked like this. The labels haven't always looked like this, and you can see it's the sort of yellow, red, and yellow sun, and it's this flying pelican logo. That's our lovely logo, right? Very nice. Now, if we then look at the Peli version, of course, because it's not called Pelican anymore, they changed the logo. And you can see the logo on the Peli still has this sort of yellow, red, yellow sun arrangement. It's very, very evocative of the Pelican logo, but then the little things are no longer pelicans. They're just sort of like a generic delta kind of wave sort of sail shape. So that's quite interesting. Obviously, Peli 1510 case. and you've got this sort of different manufacturing stuff there, but otherwise they are the same case. Really no difference at all. In fact, I'm going to get my glasses so I can read, because I'm an old bastard. And so we have Peli Products SLU, and this one made in Germany. Okay, whereas the Pelican, we have Pelican Products, Torrance, California, USA, and it's made in the US of A. And again, we have this nice flying pelican logo. And that's really the only difference between the two cases, is the name and the logo on the lid decal. Other than that, they are identical. And it really is just all about which market they were made for. And that's it. Pelican. So I have to sort of admit that I'm a bit of a fan of Pelican. I just like the name. I like it, and I like the logo better. But I love Pelis, and they is what they is, and this was an arrangement that, seems to have worked over the years. I'm going to take these off and put these back on. That's better. And it seems to have worked. And the arrangement was that Pelican with a K would stop kind of trying to register Peli and other sort of forms of the name, and giving Pelican a hard time in exchange for them not using that name in Europe and the UK, etc., etc., etc. So there we are. That's it. And that has remained the situation since then. And like I said, it's not sort of clear cut as in all Pelis are made in Europe. No, there are some Pelis that can still get made in the USA, and but pretty much all Pelicans are made in the USA, I believe. Certainly, I haven't seen a Pelican case with made in the EU written on it, or made in Germany written on it. I haven't seen that. So that's not to say it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen it. So there we are. That's Ben's little quick capsule explanation of the thing. Really, there's no difference at all. When people sort of ask me about this, so Rich, the reason why this has come up is I have a 1650, a large 1650 Peli that I have been using for about a year on tour. It has all my, there's videos about it. I keep all my stands and cases and smaller gear and IEMs and all that stuff inside it. I love it. It's a fantastic case. I love the 1650. Right. However, one day I was standing at Longstanton Park and Ride, of all places, with the very lovely Darren Juniper, who is an awesome bass player and pretty much awesome human being. And he was looking very deeply at my two cases, my Pelican, that's the Peli. Anyway, at the Pelican 1510, sitting next to and in front of the Peli 1650. And he sort of looked at them very thoughtfully, and he said, "Does it bother you that one's Peli and one's Pelican?" And I said, "It's funny you should say that, Darren, because yes, it does. It shouldn't, but it does." And that was actually some time ago, and it's taken me quite a long time to find a Pelican 1650 for the right money, and that I'd want to replace my Peli 1650 with. And the reason why I found one was the one I have now bought, and I'll make a video about that another time. The one I have bought has a lid organizer, came with a lid organizer that I could really make use of. So it just kind of all slotted into place, you know. Not only that, but the guy who was selling that Pelican 1650 with the lid organizer was going to visit a local guitar shop, Peach Guitars in Colchester. Fantastic shop. Go there. the next day and was, happy to bring the case along. And this is half an hour from me, or 40 minutes. And I said, yeah, fine, let's meet there, and I can take Hector into Peach, and we, and not buy him any guitars, because that's it's not happening, Hector. Anyway, so we did the deal, and it was great. And so I now have the Pelican 1650 with the lid organizer, but I need to sort of, swap out various bits. Anyway, I'm rambling, but the point is that there was no reason to change that 1650 other than the fact that they didn't match, with my 1510. I'm pointing down there, even though the Peli's down there and the 1510's, the Pelican's down there. Anyway, so that was the reason to do it. And the clincher was the lid organizer. It's really sad. I do appreciate that. It's very sort of, I'm disappointed with myself in a way, but it's an aesthetic choice, and I do, like I said, I kind of